Hi guys, I'm Kim Pingaro, and welcome to the Atomic Mommy Podcast. This is your podcast to understand everything and anything about parenting life, where each week I speak to special guests and cover even the most taboo of parenting topics. Before we dive in, remember you can find and follow the Atomic Mommy Podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or you can visit my website to listen in at www.atomicmommy.net. Now, let's get to it. Today's special guest is Lily McNamara, a psychic spiritual advisor. She is the owner of Lily of the Light and offers services and events to help people be the hero of their own story and has 20 years experience doing that. She's helping people rock their authentic selves and unlock their awesomeness. To learn more, visit her website at lilyofthelight.com. For being a guest on my show. I really appreciate you taking the time today. So when we first spoke, we initially talked about self-care and how you're a huge advocate for helping parents find self-care, giving us tips on what to do and how to manage it and how to actually implement that. And I thought that was really something special that needs to be talked about for both moms and dads. You know, a lot of us, we get stuck in our ways and we never find the time to actually take self-care. So why don't you teach us something and tell us about what it is you do and why self-care?
So I am a psychic spiritual advisor and owner of Lily of the Light. I help parents and ambitious entrepreneurs intuitively manifest their dream life. And a lot of that is self-care. And why working with parents is so much fun is because the first thing you do is take everything that they believe and you shatter it. You break, there are so many, think of all the toxic things about self-care that we tell parents specifically. If you take any time for yourself, you're selfish and you're hurting your children. Self-care needs to be a bubble bath. It needs to be something elaborate and huge and take time away from your family. It needs to be expensive. Take it out of your kids' college fund. All of those things come up. And I'm always like, no, none of that is actual self-care. That's a bunch of hooey.
That's true.
So that's a big part of it. And why self-care is so important to me is I actually, my immune system crashed when I was 14 years old and it never recovered and I became disabled. And so self-care became a huge part of my life. I didn't have a choice. And I was able to juggle growing up and being an adult with self-care and doctor's appointments and really managing and maintaining my health to be a successful entrepreneur. And so when people are like, how important is self-care? I'm like, it can make or break your career and your body. So
That's it.
it's such a huge part of my life. And it's like, there's tons of trial and error, right? To figure out exactly who you are and exactly what your self-care is, because it is not Instagrammable. It's not meant to be. It's not meant to look like an influencer's or your mother's or anybody else's. But where do you start? And I always love telling people, I'm like, right here, right here. Let me do some heavy lifting because I did it all. I did it all for a few decades so that you don't have to.
That's true. I mean, so you're talking about so for you, your immune system crashed, and that was like your flashing light to be like, all right, now I need to really focus on myself. So not everyone has that moment of clarity the way that you did. What would you say to parents who are still in that, sort of that mode, like I'm just going to go with the flow. I don't really have time for myself. How would you help them find that time or find that you really need to have self-care?
Is white knuckling it really working for you? Are you enjoying the white knuckling it? Are you enjoying the fact that every sphincter in your body is clenched shut in a spasm? Because if you are, more power to you. If that's your life, if that's your yum, fine. But that's not actually how it's supposed to go. And what I always tell people is, it's not supposed to take 5 hours a day because quite frankly, none of us have 5 hours a day to spend on self-care. No, I'm busy. I got shit to do. And so I always tell people, do you want to know where self-care starts? Seconds. It starts. Oh my gosh. Anyone who's like, it needs to be a 90-minute massage. You know what it needs to be? 10 seconds of deep breathing.
Yeah.
That changes when you start that small, because I've heard moms and dads, I don't have time. Here's my question. This is going to sound so weird. Do you wash your hands after using the bathroom?
Wait, that's a question? I do.
Yeah. And so does every parent. And that's when your self-care starts.
Okay.
You take 30 seconds to wash your hands, and in that time, do your deep breathing. You are washing your hands anyway.
Wow. So, I mean, that's pretty simple to do.
Yep. And that's where it starts. When you do something else too. And it's because it's like, I don't have time. It's like, what are you doing? What's your day look like? Tell me about it, and I will tell you how we can customize your self-care. But that's a big one. Every stoplight that you hit, so every time it's red, what are you grateful for? Say it out loud with your kids.
Wow.
Say, kids, red light. What are we grateful for today? I'm grateful that I got to have coffee. And then the kids would be like, I got to play with Tim on the playground. Yes. Teach them gratitude. Teach them self-care. So you can include, that's the thing. Parents, you can include your kids in your self-care. The myth that it has to be completely separate for you to take care of yourself is quite frankly unrealistic for parents. But of small kids,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it's like I have a client who like does stretching, gentle stretching. Her toddler just and is, I don't know if you're watching this on video, but that little kid's got an arm walked over their head and then trying to do downward dog and putting their tuchus in the air. And it's fabulous. You're teaching your kids self-care as you are taking care of yourself. That is an option to do it with your children. Here's the main thing I want people to get away from this. There are options. You don't know what they are because you are not a specialist. I will tell you what they are if you give me a chance to harass you about it, because that's what it is. I will go and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and then I'm going to hand you health. You just have to take it.
All right. You know what? Let's work your magic on me. You know, I'm a mom of 4. I run a business. I just started a foundation. I'm married to a cop. I'm always on the go. I do make time for self-care, but let's work it on me. Do your magic on me. Ask me all the questions.
So what takes up the most time in your day?
Let's see. My children and my business, I would say, take up the most time.
Okay, so I would suggest for you, because you have 4 children, something called habit stacking. And that's, like I said, you find something that you're already doing and you stack things on top of it.
Okay.
So I would suggest that you do the deep breathing while you wash your hands, the gratitude at every red light, because you have kids, which means I bet you're a taxi service.
Oh, yeah.
So every time you're in the car, you should be having gratitude for something, and include your kids in that, because they're going to be in the car too. And then the other thing I would suggest is, I see you drinking water.
Yeah.
How much water do you drink a day?
I go by bottles because I don't count ounces. I'd say like 6 bottles of water, and that's if I'm not drinking a ton of green tea, because that's the other thing I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I would have you incorporate another step of self-care into the water. So you drink 6. Every time you finish one and go to fill it up, you do 1 stretch.
Okay. So sort of like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Not that, the proverbial bird.
Yep. Because the thing is that we can't create more than 24 hours in a day.
True.
But we can stack things so that it's like, oh, yep. Because when people say, oh my God, I don't have 30 minutes to do stretching. And it's like, yep, but every time you fill up your water, you're gonna just bend down, touch your toes, go into a runner's lunge, go into a pose and just hold it for 30 seconds. And if it's an each side thing, do it on each side. Don't just whip one leg forward and leave the other one back there. Got to switch it. But so you're going to be doing little things, because quite frankly, running a successful business as you do, having 4 children who are not serial killers is a task.
Yeah.
Is a task. So we can't create more time for you. And I don't want you to be in the mindset that now you have to create an hour. I have a client who has 2 kids, and once a month she takes 24 hours for herself. And her husband and kids have to fend for themselves. That sounds awesome. That's not realistic for you right now as you're building your business and running a successful business, is it?
No, not for me. I mean, I'll be honest, like I do take some time for myself, but I don't take it all the time. I do more in small increments like you're talking about, where so throughout my day, it adds up to 30 minutes or an hour, I combine my lunch with my exercise. So I'll take a nice slow 15, 20-minute lunch, and then I'll take a 15-minute maybe walk outside, or I'll take a jog, something that helps me feel like I've accomplished something for myself, but still on target with everything I need to achieve.
Yep. And so that's what you need to do. So for you specifically, it would be the habit stacking. And like I said, those are 3. Here's the thing. I would love to give people a giant list of stuff that will make their life better. But in all reality, we will do 2 things at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And we've now given you 3.
Yeah.
So you then do those 3 because I have faith in you. You do those 3 and see how it goes. And then we would come back and add more or change more. And so, because when you give someone any giant task, even if it's 10 mini tasks, they're like, well, I can't do all that. And that's overwhelming. It's like, no, I want you to do 1 to 2. I want you to do 1 to 2 for a full moon cycle. So 28 days, a full month. And then we will discuss what more we can add. So for you, it would be those things. And then we would work on your energy cycles. So how your body cycles through energy to plan when you should be taking those bigger breaks. We'll get you through habit stacking, and then we'll do that. Because my energy cycles every, it's allergies season.
Don't worry, I got them too.
Gotta love it. So it's about tracking what energy looks like to you, because nobody is the same, right? So my energy cycles about every 10 to 14 days. And then every season, my energy cycles, which means every 10 to 14 days, something shifts. And then every 3 months, something bigger shifts. So
how does someone find out their energy cycle? Because now I'm very interested in finding mine.
Honestly, you have to have a session with me. And that's not a sales pitch. That is something where it's like, I have not been able to create like a questionnaire or anything with someone to have them effectively do it without talking to me. It's going through like, okay, you have to be very aware of yourself, but I also have to get to know you a little bit. And it's like, what is it like? I had a client who runs an amazing marketing firm, and he was like, God, I have 1 week of just inspiration and it's amazing. And then I have another week where I just I'm so good and everything. And then the next week I just crash and I don't know what to do about it. I'm like, so your energy cycles every 3 weeks. So every 21 days, we're going to do something differently. And then in that 21 days, we schedule his life accordingly.
It's funny that you're saying that, because I've noticed myself having, I guess, an energy cycle. I didn't realize what it was called, but I would say every 30 to 60 days, I'm on top of my game. I mean, wow, I even amaze myself sometimes. Yep. But at the end of those 60 days, I'm drained and I feel like I can't function, like I can't breathe. I just want to be a recluse at home. I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to do anything. I want to, just watch and binge TV and just do nothing. And that goes on for like another month. And then I'm back to this 30 to 60 days, flying high, doing amazing. And then again, another crash. So I guess that's what you mean by energy cycle?
Yep. And you need to schedule accordingly. So for like the 3-week one, he had inspiration for a week. And I'm like, okay, don't see any clients, make all of your content, do all of your newsletter writing, do all of that in that week. The second week, you are your most productive. That's when you see clients. That's when you close deals. That's when you buff out all of that's when you do all your meaty work.
Okay.
So you're creating, you do all your meaty work, and then he would crash for a week. And I'm like, that week, self-care. That week, family time. That week, you're sure as shit not talking to clients. And then he changed it. And now he goes on family vacations. Now he has time for his wife and his own self-care, because he's like, okay, that week is when I'll do it. Instead of trying to make every single day, every single week look identical, because that's what productivity is, right? Mm-hmm. No. Productivity is exactly what you need it to be. So your productivity will not look like mine. My energy cycles every 10 to 14 days. And then I need rest time. And so it's being able to really honor that and schedule your life around it. That is self-care. And that's a big thing of what I help entrepreneurs do. Because again, they think it's supposed to look the same every week. It doesn't. It doesn't.
So what happens? So now I know you do this for parents and for entrepreneurs, and I can see why. Our schedules are a lot more flexible. Mm-hmm. How do we implement this for someone who still has the 9 to 5 grind or is on a shift schedule? How do we help them figure their energy cycle out, figure out how to implement self-care?
You honor it when you can.
Okay.
You can't control everything, because guess what? I bet you can't control when your kids get the flu.
No.
No
No.
matter how inconvenient it is. And then one gets it and then the other gets it. And all of a sudden your soul is crushed underneath the weight of bacterium. And so what you do with people who have like a 9 to 5 or something like that, that's not as flexible as our schedules. So you take that and you put it aside, because there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. However, like if you bring your lunch during the time that you know you are pounding out and being the most productive, you bring more protein, drink more caffeine, drink more green tea type of thing. During those cycles, it's like when you need to make sure that it's like you're having your down cycle, your lunch will be packed differently. Those are your pre-made meals.
Okay.
You know, you'll meal prep for when you're like, I cannot tell you, I have chest freezers, girl, for myself, because when I am on, cooking, baking, yes, because I know that if there's a week, and sometimes it's a month, disability sucks. Sometimes it's a month where I'm not doing anything. I still want nutritious food. I still want the food that I like. So I make it and prep it. Like right now, scallop potatoes are thawing in my fridge because I made them a few months ago.
So they're thawing ready for you.
You prep. So you can still follow those energy cycles. If you're working, you just take the 9 to 5 out of it and you focus on like, okay, what's your lunch look like? What's your break look like? Because if it's something where you need to do stretching one week during your break, but you need to do deep breathing another time, or you need to call someone and vent.
Okay.
That's true too. So be able to work around it. And then once you get off work, what are you doing to decompress? Does that need to look different depending on where in your energy cycle you are? Do you need to spend more or less time with your family depending upon where your energy cycle is? Again, remember that 3-week one? Those 2 weeks, no family. That 1 week is all family for him. It's all self-care and family. And his family sees him so much more now than they did when he was trying to see them and give them all the attention every single week.
I bet they're grateful for that.
Love it. He still lives with them. He still sees them, but he does not see them as often as that last week. And they love it. They're like, we get all of his attention. It's no longer pulled between two things. And it just makes life so much easier. The family feels loved, even though it's like, they're getting 1/3 of the time. It's like, but they're getting 100% of him.
Yeah.
So why is that a problem?
No, you're right, because 1/3 of the time, 100% of that time is better than the push and pull that happens without having that. It's insane. I find myself struggling with it sometimes also, where I feel like I'm working, and then they're older now, so they let me know, you've been working all day. Can we go do something? So like, then I feel guilty on both ends. One of, I didn't get to spend time with the kids enough today, or I got to stop working early today so I can go and do, you know what I'm saying? So what you do is something very unique that helps people sort of plan out in a way that is beneficial, still has your productivity increasing, and also giving self-care to yourself and to your family. It's a very unique thing. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about that, because it's not easy to do. Not for a parent, not for entrepreneurs at all.
And that's the big thing about working with parents and entrepreneurs, but the shame and guilt of it.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, what if I take time off? But if it honors your energy cycle, you're like, oh, but if I take time off now, I will be high king shit next week. Because the grind is real. I don't care when I am a psychic spiritual advisor. You would think manifesting is easy. I attract my dream life. No, I worked for my dream life. Thank you very much. The woo was just sprinkled on top to make me a fairy. Like it's work. It's work, but work smarter, not harder. Yeah. Really lean into your energy, lean into your own strengths, and your life will get better. And so with this, it's like, oh my God, where do I start? Where do I start? Please schedule a session with me. This is not a sales thing. I genuinely want to help you. But if you can't, here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at your life and pick one thing that you really resonate with. So everyone is different, right? I love astrology. Yeah. I am a Cancer in 5 different placements on my chart. I'm a crab, but that means that my home is part of me, which means my home is self-care. So I clean and tidy my home on a regular basis to calm my soul. I
Okay.
take it seriously. So you can look at your astrology and go, okay, where am I leaning? So where can I start? If you don't know where to start, if you love elements, work with elements. Oh, I love the element of air. I always love the element of air. Those are communication and intellect. Do a brain dump in a journal every night. Have coffee and chat with somebody. If you are air, get that intellect and communication going for your self-care. Now, those are woo, right? Not everyone's woo. Not every parent wants the woo. Look at your Myers-Briggs. Look at your Enneagram. I am pronouncing that wrong. I am so sorry. Look at those things, and then you will see what kind of personality you have. It'll be like, oh, that's what I need. And it's the same with introvert versus extrovert. If you're an introvert, do something in for your self-care. If you are an extrovert, go to a concert. If you are an extrovert, do something, schedule regular hangouts over Zoom or in person with your friends to recharge your battery. There are ways to hack this. And obviously, I always say, come see me because it's the quickest way to do it. But if you can't, if you don't want to, if you think I'm the most annoying creature on the world, I respect that. There are ways to do it. Look at the things that you naturally gravitate towards and make them your self-care so that you understand what you need most.
So I have a question for you now, because you are very much an expert in this field. And I know that you're not pitching anyone to show up and just like schedule with you, but it is true. You do need to talk to someone in order to figure this out, whether it's you or some other holistic expert who helps. My question to you is there something that parents and entrepreneurs can do from home? Maybe something that you created, like a workbook, where we can sort of write the answers to questions down, where then we can send it to you and then you could look at it and then we can chat. So it's not so much of taking time out of our day, but we do it at our own pace.
I do have a workbook, and it's a PDF that is just sent to you. And
Okay.
it has a tracker in it for a few weeks. And the reason I made it 2 weeks long, it sounds awful, but I'm like, I wanted it to be realistic. This book is not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be realistic. You are busy. You're not going to track your life for more than 2 weeks. I've never met anyone who, when they're just starting, before they see the proof in the pudding, that they're like, I'm going to commit to this. They're all like, I am going to give it my best effort and forget to fill out half this. It was made to be realistic, because here's the thing. I could know exactly what you need for self-care. You could know exactly what you need for self-care, but is it realistic? Is it sustainable for your life? Because if I told you that you had to work out an hour a day and do meditation an hour a day and you're already drinking the 6 cups of water. But if I laid out a plan for you that was like, oh, this is the way that you're going to live your ideal life, and you're sitting there going, I got 4 kids. When you think I'm doing an hour of anything that doesn't involve, what is wrong with, that's not realistic or sustainable. That's what I'm going for. I want realistic and sustainable. Even if it's not perfect, it is so much better than a plan that you will never do, because you look at it and go, what am I supposed to do with that? What if someone told me that I had to wake up early and that's part of self-care? I'd look at them and go, oh, I'd rather spit in your face than take you seriously. Mm-mm. No.
I'm not a fan of waking up early. I would love to do the workbook, but if I have to wake up early, I'd rather not.
Nope.
That's my self-care. I need sleep.
Yes. Prioritize sleep. It's about finding what is realistic and sustainable, because it's like, if it works for you for a week, but it's not working for you for months or years, it's not the self-care for you. Because how many times have you done something where it's like a New Year's resolution? I'm going to do this. And then by freaking Valentine's Day, it's like, oh, I did that once for a while.
I don't even make New Year's resolutions anymore. I find it so dumb. I make small daily goals that are obtainable, that I can achieve, even as low as like a half hour, just something for that day. I don't do resolutions anymore. I used to be that person. I used to always flounder. February would come and be like, okay, well, that's over.
Yes. And that's the thing. Does it honor your energy cycles? So resolutions and changing your patterns, that can also be a yearly thing. Like a lot of people, it has to be at the beginning of the year. Do you know a lot of people do their resolutions after Valentine's Day? Do you want to know why? I don't do it. I think it's silly, but I totally understand why.
Why?
because it's after football season.
Ah, that makes sense.
And so no more tailgating, no more Sunday like none of that food is there. And also for a lot of people who are Christian or Catholic, that gets them through like Fat Tuesday, and then Lent starts. And so it's like, okay, so you're going to have someone do something, and then a holiday that is about gluttony happens. What are you supposed to do with that? So you have to be very realistic. And so for me, I love setting. So we're in August, September. Oh, I'll set some goals in September because I love letting go. In September, so the fall season is all about letting go. So I will reassess my life and be like, what do I need to let go for 2025 to be my best year yet? And so for me, it's like, I could not do them at the beginning of the year. I pick my words that I want to live by at the beginning of the year. And then in the fall is when I do that, because that's when my energy syncs up. So I see people doing these things because society tells them, this is when this should happen. I'm like, please don't. Oh, that crash and burn did it hurt when you fell? Because you bounced. I mean.
Yeah, I hear you. Society does have a lot of rules for all of us.
Yep. And if it works for you, I'm a big believer, do not hurt yourself or anyone or anything else. Like if your self-care is killing cats, I strongly suggest you seek help. That is not me. I strongly suggest you seek help. But if your self-care isn't hurting anybody, do it. Do it. Like, I don't care how weird it is. I have a lot of worry thoughts. And, a lot of people are like, oh, view it as a cloud passing by. View it as, wipe it off the whiteboard. Just get it out of there. Never worked. Never worked. Worry thoughts, ruined meditations. I overanalyze, absolutely second guess myself. Yes, I'm not perfect. You want to know what worked? It's called the Yule Cat. Do you want to know what the Yule Cat is? Let me tell you. So it is European folklore. It is from Yule, so Christmas time. A cat the size of the house would go around and eat children who did not help with the chores enough and contribute to the household.
Is that a real thing? That's a real story?
That's a real folklore story.
Damn.
Yep. Now, that is not what it does for me, but I was having worry thoughts and I was like, stupid cloud, ticker tape, nothing's working. And then I visualized the Yule Cat, big fluff ball the size of a house, and one big murder mitt, and smacked the thought away. And I was like, it's gone. Hello? Good kitty. Good kitty. Yes. And I lost my mind. So now every time I have a worry thought, I visualize a giant fluffy cat coming with a big old paw and smacking it out of the way. And it is so effective. It has nothing to do with the actual folklore. It is not historically accurate at all, but it worked. And I'm like, oh, I'll keep that cat forever. I'm going to be 100 years old, laying in bed with false teeth. And if I have a worry thought, oh my God, I didn't do enough with my life, that cat's still going to come up and smack it out of my head at 100. I know it. Find what works for you. I don't care how weird it is. I'm willing to share my weird.
Like, no, I mean, that works. If it works for you, it works. Then you stick with it.
Yes. Yes. And that's what this is about. It is about being able to have trial and error. I would love to say that I could give you an exact reason and exact everything, and it would be amazing the first try. But no, there is trial and error in this. There is. And you have to be patient with yourself.
No, that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Trial and error is one of the things I think most parents and entrepreneurs are very well versed in, because nothing comes with a manual. Kids don't come with a manual. Parenting, marriage doesn't come with a manual. Even starting a business doesn't come with a real manual. So when you talk about that, that's really important to know. So
everything's different.
I don't use a cat per se, but I definitely write down. So I'm analytical about everything. Everything under the sun, I overanalyze. I'm a worry wart. So for me, what worked for me, and I started this as a teenager, like I just started journaling all of my thoughts, everything that I needed to think about. And then as I entered parenthood, it grew into a to-do list, because I started to worry about what I wasn't doing, And then as an entrepreneur, same concept. So now I have a journal that helps me focus on all of that without having to think about it all night long. Because that was the other thing. I was suffering from insomnia from worrying all the time. Yeah, see? So
You'll notice I'm not even, it's closed and it's still like within arm's reach. It's finding what works for you. And mine has, I love it. I'm a slut for tabs. So like now each tab is a different thing. Like I have business, personal life, to-do list. They're all in different tabs. But again, it's finding what works for you. So one last thing about self-care. So I'm trying to, instead of focusing on one main thing about self-care, I'm trying to give your listeners and your subscribers a little bit of everything. It's like, okay, and once you find one of these things that you run with it, grab it, pet it, run with it, make it a friend.
yeah.
And so another thing is finding the way that you need to remind yourself. So we have so much going on that it's important to understand that we do not do everything ourselves. I have ADHD, which means everything has to be outside of myself for me to actually do it.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you the absolutely ridiculous list of stuff that I have. All right. So I have washed it off because I did my to-do list, but things that need to get done today are written on my hand. Things that need to get done this week are written on a Post-it. Things that are eminent and need my attention are written on my mirror with a dry erase marker. I have alarms for everything in my phone. And then I have the big to-do lists in my journal. This is literally how I do my life. And there are different categories for different levels of importance because that's what works for me. I could not have it all on one list. I'm like, where's the important list? Once the important list is done, then I'll move on to one of the, like answering emails. But let me tell you what, getting that prescription refilled was so much more important than answering an email. And so you find what works for you externally too. This does not need to be all inside. This can be things that you have written down. This can be things where your friends keep you accountable. Like, I love the idea of having an accountability buddy.
Yeah.
You know, when you text each other, how much water did you drink today? Or you go to the gym together. Make it yours. There are ways to make this work and yours will look completely different. So find the ways that work for you and just cling to them for your ever life.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I used to have an accountability partner and then I couldn't keep myself accountable to actually reaching out to my accountability partner. So that's when I realized it didn't work anymore.
Yep. And sometimes you outgrow things. Sometimes life changes. And that's totally fine. Like, don't be so hard set in something that you're not willing to change.
That's good advice. That's really good advice. Okay, so I think you have given us a world of information to think about and to really try to implement in our own lives at small doses, small pace. So tell us how we can, reach out to you and how we can schedule with you, because obviously that's a really important thing to do. So how do we do all that?
Absolutely. lilyofthelight.com. Lily, like the flower, lilyofthelight.com.
Super simple.
Yeah, I wanted it. And everything's the same across every platform. It's all just Lily of the Light. Because I would love to say I thought about other people, but I wanted to make it easy for me.
Hey, if that works, right? I get that. So lilyofthelight.com, and it's Lily of the Light on all your social media platforms, right? Mm-hmm. And so now if we go on lilyofthelight.com, what do we have to do to schedule with you?
Right underneath my intro is make an appointment. And then you can schedule an appointment right there and we can do a preliminary session. And then if you choose to, most of my clients do the Holistic Hero membership where they see me monthly.
Okay.
To continually grow and change. But if you get everything you need out of one session, awesome for you. Like, it's not mandatory, but you do have to start with having a session with me to work with me. Believe it or not, to work with me, you actually have to talk to me. Who knew?
You mean I actually have to get on the phone and call you or email you?
Yes.
Well, Lily, I just have to tell you something. I have had a wonderful time with you and learning about this energy cycle. It's just, I'm going to be looking that up. So thank you so much. I'm very excited to continue working with you in the future. And thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful. Go forth, everyone, and do your self-care exactly as the weirdness you require.
Bye, Lily.
And there you have it, super parents. Another episode packed with joy, wisdom, and all the parental love in the universe. Remember to swoop back here every Wednesday for more parenting delights. Stay connected with our vibrant community on Instagram and Twitter at atomic_mommy, And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube for more fantastic videos designed with you in mind. Craving more tips, guides, and the coolest parenting merch? Visit www.atomicmommy.com where the fun never ends.